Okay, so they told us we should fly 170 and then resume own navigation, climb and maintain 4,000. I'm going to acknowledge that. So turn right. We turn right using the autopilot by just adjusting this. Turn right 170. So we dial in 170. And they told us to climb and maintain 4,000, which is what we're doing already in the first place. So it's all good. We don't have to worry about it. We're just going to let the autopilot get us to 4,000 feet. We can see on the vertical speed that we're climbing at 700 feet per minute, or roughly 700 feet per minute. And that's because the autopilot is set to a vertical speed of 700. We can change that if we wanted to expedite the climb, which means the climb, which means we go faster, or we can slow the climb down or stuff like that. It's not really that important right now, though. We are making 90 knots. Remember, the only thing that we don't have an autopilot for on this plane is the airspeed. The speed in general. We cannot control this with an autopilot on this plane. So this is the thing that you always need to monitor in any situation all the time. Remember, no going too slow because you're going to stall, no going too fast. So if there's an issue, you need to basically take care of that. At this point, we are at 170. They told us to resume own navigation afterwards, so that's what we're gonna do. The way to do this is we're gonna see. You can see they kind of aligned us in the right direction roughly. We're gonna click this switch, and it switches between nav and GPS. Let me show you this in a little bit more detail here. It's kind of difficult to control the camera. There we go. See, nav, GPS. It can be nav, it can be GPS. If it's nav, it uses nav radios. If it's GPS, we use GPS. We want to use GPS, so put it on GPS. And then we're going to hit nav. Nav means it's an alternative to heading. This means now this is set on nav and this is on GPS. This means the autopilot is going to use our GPS pre-programmed flight data. These lines here, to fly us to our destination completely by itself, which is awesome for us right now. So yeah, as you can see, it's actually really easy to fly this plane. We're still climbing. I'm probably going to edit this because there's probably going to be a lot of time. This flight takes about 90 minutes, I guess, probably, maybe 2 hours. And there's going to be a lot of time where nothing happens because we're literally just on the autopilot doing nothing. So yeah, I'm going to edit those parts out. One thing I did want to mention is that before we took off, they said the altimeter was not calibrated. What you want to do is every time they tell you something like altimeter 29902, that means you need to hit the B key and the D key on your keyboard. This automatically uses these buttons down here to readjust your instruments to the barometric pressure. Okay, so in real life, you'd have to use these two knobs here automatically, manually rather, to fine-tune them, as you can see here, for example. In this case, we don't have to. So that's good. We just hit B and D on the keyboard every now and then, basically, to keep it all in line. As you can see, we're leveling out here. The vertical speed is dropping down to 0. The autopilot has noticed we're at 4,000 feet. A couple of feet higher than that. And yeah, the autopilot is in full control and it's all looking good. Now the thing is, when we were climbing, our airspeed was kind of fairly low because we were climbing. The engine had to work really hard to get us up. Now we are getting pretty fast here, right? We're getting pretty fast, over 100 knots here, and we're still at full throttle from taking off. So what you can do if you want to is you can actually reduce the throttle just a bit. And notice, of course, nothing is going to change with our altitude or our heading because we are in autopilot mode, but this airspeed is going to be affected. So we can use our throttle to kind of adjust our airspeed to whatever we want it to be. So let's say we want to fly at 100 knots. So I'm just going to take off a little bit more power, and you can notice our needle's dropping. It's a little bit higher than that, I guess, right now. It doesn't actually show you the exact reading when you hover over it, but it looks really good. It's cool. Let's confirm that our flaps are actually all the way up. They are, as you can see here, they're all the way up at 0 degrees. You don't want any flaps because we would be going way too fast for them. We're level. Everything's looking good. There's probably a bunch of other things I should be talking about at some point as well, but I'll get to them when they come up. Notice how we're kind of leveling out on this line here. We're going to turn left here pretty soon. So we're flying perfectly along our flight plan. There's the turn to the left that the autopilot makes for us. By the way, this is the RPM. I forgot to mention the RPM, I think. These are the rotations per minute times 100. At least I think. Yeah, obviously. And yeah, we're flying at, what, 22? Maybe. It's dropping down a little bit. 225. So that's also another way you can kind of gauge how much, you know, how much your throttle is set, basically, how much throttle you're using right now. I also wanted to mention that this heading bug, by the way, we can change this heading bug right now freely because it doesn't matter because we're not in heading mode anymore, okay? This heading bug only works together with this heading button. If this is not on, this doesn't do anything. Right, now we're on nav and on GPS, so it's using this mode, this super automatic mode here. So we don't have to worry about anything. I should probably mention that this here is our ident. So this is our ID, GBAFM. And when they call us out, you can see they're calling us by the 3 last letters. I think that's pretty standard. So they say Alpha, Foxtrot, Mike, which is how the aviator's alphabet works, I guess, or AFM. And that is our identification. So there's going to be other traffic here. We have to look out on the ATC menu when they're calling us, because we have to comply with them when they tell us to do something particular. Let's actually close this menu for now because we don't need it. And it's going to pop up automatically. There's a setting for it. It's going to pop up automatically when they actually start talking to us. So we're gonna notice that. This is kind of the time where we can just look around, have some fun, notice the really nice landscape here in southern England, and notice the Atlantic Ocean, the channel in front of us. It's kind of towards the horizon there. It's still a little bit far away. There's actually this weird tower here. It's really tricky to see. There you go. I don't know what that is. It's a big penis statue, I guess. I don't know. There we go. So another handoff, nothing important. We're gonna acknowledge the handoff to 118.905. And again, we don't have. This would be again a time where we have to mess with the COM1, but we don't have to because it's gonna input that automatically. And let's talk to the new people. They give us a new, kind of as a welcome message, they give us a new altimeter reading, but it's actually the same thing we've been using before. So we don't have to retune our instruments, but if you want to be on the safe side, you could just hit B and D. And actually, apparently it changed a tiny little bit or something. Maybe that was just turbulence, I don't know. But yeah, hit that every now and then if you feel like it. It's not going to change a lot, I guess, in this flight here. These are the buttons where we can request a cruising altitude increase or decrease. Right now we're at 4,000, which is according to our flight plan. So there's no need. The clouds are way above us, so we have good visual, excuse me, visual on the ground and stuff, and that's nice. So no need to do anything. And they're talking to other people, so let's close the menu. It's not going to shut them up, but it's going to make it obvious that they're talking to other people. Yeah. This, by the way, this is a fuel selector. We're using fuel from both tanks. You could use fuel just from the left or right tank if you felt like it. We're not going to mess with that. Oh, also, yeah, the mixture. We wanted to talk about the mixture. So with this, you can affect the mixture between fuel and oxygen in your engine, in your combustion engine, I guess. Technically, you could use this. I think it was if you're above 3,000, you should be messing with the mixture control. Right now, it's at 100%, which means it's rich with fuel, I assume. If you're gonna pull this out, you can make it lean, where it's less rich. That's due to changes of air pressure, I think. And I'm not gonna mess with it. It's not gonna be of consequence to us here right now, and we're just barely above 3,000 anyways. So for now, I'm okay with it being at that setting. Again, keeping in mind that this is not it's not a tutorial or anything. It's not like a big, this is exactly how you'd fly a plane in real life thing. This is literally just me blabbering on about the couple of things I researched and found out. Apart from that, there's a couple of things we should probably talk about here on the GPS. There's an NRST, which is nearest. Shows us the nearest airports. I can see there's a couple of them here, and EG means England, as far as I know. We can hit the push button here, this cursor, and then we can click these buttons to go up and down. I can see all the nearest airports at this point are still in England. So the one thing we do want to look out for is we want to be able to find the French Le Havre airport, which was something with OH at the end, Octeville Le Havre, like LVOH or something like that. We'll recognize it when it comes, because we need that later. But for now, we can notice here that there's all airports are English because we're still over England. And we can hit the FPL button once and once again to return to our little navigational overview. By the way, now we can see this. This is England, and we're going to fly what looks like north to France, which seems to make no sense. But that's because this display is always adjusted so that your plane looks up. If you think that's a little bit unconventional, you can also change, again, we've seen this before, we can go to the other page here, to the second page, and that's the same idea, except this one is always with the north being up, so your plane looks sort of southish right now, south-south-east. So, yeah, you can use either page. I'm kind of used to the first one at this point, so I might stick to that. We're flying over this little beacon called MAY, or May. Now we're actually dropped below 100 knots, so I'm just going to give it a little bit more throttle. We don't need to really fly so slow. It's just going to be a pain in the butt. But yeah, this is the point where I'm going to start editing. I'm going to show you everything. Like, I'm only going to edit out parts where I'm literally doing nothing, because I want this to be complete. So if any handoff happens, any radio communication, anything, I will show you. I will not edit that out. But for now, I'll see you guys in a bit.